Barnaby was no ordinary fox. He lived in a burrow nestled under the roots of a giant oak tree, deep within Whisperwood Forest. But unlike the other foxes, Barnaby could speak, not just in barks and yips, but in perfect, eloquent English. He had learned by secretly listening to the stories read aloud by an old, kind professor who lived at the edge of the woods. Barnaby's ears would twitch with delight at every new word. Barnaby longed to share his gift. One sunny morning, he decided to embark on an adventure to find someone who would understand him. He packed a small satchel with a juicy red apple and a well-loved copy of Aesop's Fables. His first encounter was with a grumpy badger named Bartholomew, who was busy digging. "Good morrow, Master Bartholomew," Barnaby said politely. Bartholomew merely snorted, throwing dirt over his shoulder. Barnaby sighed. Stories bridge worlds. Next, he met a family of squirrels, chattering excitedly about their acorn hoard. "Excuse me, friends," Barnaby began. "Might you be interested in a story?" They scattered, their tiny minds unable to comprehend a talking fox. Discouraged, but not defeated, Barnaby continued deeper into the forest. He eventually came across a clearing where a young girl named Lily sat sketching wildflowers. She looked up, surprised, as Barnaby approached. "Hello there," he said, his voice gentle. Lily blinked. Did you just talk?" she whispered, her eyes wide with wonder. Barnaby nodded eagerly. "Indeed I did. My name is Barnaby, and I'm looking for someone to share stories with." Lily was thrilled. She loved stories, and a talking fox was the most exciting thing that had ever happened to her. Barnaby opened his book and began to read The Fox and the Crow, his voice clear and expressive. From that day on, Barnaby and Lily became the best of friends. Every afternoon, they would meet in the clearing. Barnaby would share tales from his book, and Lily would listen, asking questions about new words and phrases. Through their shared love of stories, Lily's English vocabulary blossomed, and Barnaby found the companionship he had always dreamed of. The magic of storytelling had brought them together, proving that language truly is a bridge between worlds. Barnaby and Lily's friendship became a local legend, though most adults dismissed it as Lily's vivid imagination. But for the children of the nearby village, whispers of a storytelling fox spread like wildfire. One day, a small group of curious children, led by a brave boy named Tom, ventured into Whisperwood, hoping to find the fabled fox. Tom held a hand-carved sign that read, "Storytelling Fox?" As they reached the clearing, they saw Barnaby and Lily mid-story. Barnaby was eloquently describing the adventures of a valiant mouse. The children gasped, utterly captivated. Lily, seeing their awestruck faces, smiled and invited them to join. Barnaby, delighted by the larger audience, cleared his throat and began a new tale, The Tortoise and the Hare. He used dramatic voices for each character, making the story come alive. The children listened with rapt attention, their minds soaking in the English words and the valuable moral lessons embedded in each fable. Barnaby paused to explain trickier vocabulary, patiently answering their questions. Days turned into weeks, and the clearing became a regular meeting spot for the children of the village. Barnaby, with Lily's help, started a small English story club. He would tell stories and the children would try to retell them in their own words, practicing their speaking skills. Sometimes, the old professor, curious about the sudden influx of children to the edge of his woods, would discreetly observe. He noticed their improved vocabulary and confidence. He chuckled, realizing his quiet reading had had a far greater impact than he ever imagined. The English Story Club grew in popularity, attracting children from neighboring villages. The clearing, once a quiet spot for Lily and Barnaby, now buzzed with laughter and the sound of young voices eagerly repeating English phrases. Barnaby, now a beloved teacher, decided to expand their learning. He introduced interactive lessons, using the natural world around them as his classroom. "Look at the vibrant green leaves," he would exclaim, pointing to a bush. "Vibrant means very bright and lively." The children would repeat the word, their eyes sparkling with understanding. He taught them about nouns by pointing to animals and objects, and verbs by describing their actions. The bird is singing, he'd illustrate, his paw mimicking a bird's beak. Singing is an action word. As the seasons changed, so did Barnaby's lessons. In autumn, he taught them words for different colors of leaves. In winter, they learned about snow and ice, snuggled warmly around a small, enchanted bonfire Lily would conjure. The professor, still observing from afar, decided to intervene, not with skepticism, but with support. He visited the clearing, bringing with him a trunk full of old English children's books. The children's eyes lit up at the sight of the professor's treasure trove of books. Each one was an invitation to a new adventure, a new world of words and stories. Barnaby, with a grateful look at the professor, began to read from a beautifully illustrated book of classic fairy tales. One particular day, as Barnaby was reading about a brave knight, a sudden gust of wind scattered the pages of the book. The children gasped, fearing the story was lost. But Barnaby, quick-witted as ever, turned it into a game. "Let's go on a story page chase," he barked playfully. "Each page we find has a new word for us to learn." The children eagerly joined the hunt, scrambling through the undergrowth to retrieve the pages. They collected the pages, each one containing a new word, from kingdom to courage to magic. Barnaby explained each word, and the children repeated them, their understanding of English growing with every retrieved page. When all the pages were found, Barnaby helped them put the story back together. The children, feeling like real adventurers, had not only learned new words, but also experienced the joy of collaborative learning.